I'm pretty excited for this ranking. Today we're talking about the underground guitarists. Everyone has their own definition of what underground means, but these are artists that I haven't talked about much on this channel, nor are they quite mainstream. So what else do I call them? I've mixed together both solo artists and bands, some of which I've been listening to for a while, and others I've been recommended by both friends as well as you guys. Hopefully I can introduce you to some new gems, and if there's anyone you think should be on this list, comment below, and if we have enough of them, we'll do a part 2. That's it for me. Let's get into it. Coming in hot, we have the artist whose name I've been saying wrong my entire life, Sithyu Aye. Growing up, I loved the tight tone and progressive phrasing of Sithyu's music. I listened to a ton of progressive metal, so when any artist did something a little different from everyone else, it really caught my attention. And expressing versatility across different songs is something I feel Sithyu Aye does really well. I'm not super familiar with his track list. He had several songs I'd listened to a good bit, but I recently went back to check out some of his newer albums in full, and Senpai 3 is probably my favorite project of his. He's been utilizing orchestral elements like strings and piano in his music for years, but the way it's executed in Senpai 3 is just beautiful and cinematic. Even though Sithyu Aye's music is more on the metal side, it's easily digestible compared to other metal artists. And some of those melodies just have so much passion and emotion in them. Great guitarist and honestly, even better composer. I'm gonna go with S. We're gonna go with S. This is gonna be a tough list. Next up, we got the indie trio Vasudeva. I've been listening to this band for quite some time. I had a friend who worked at the local guitar center where I live before I went off for school, and he knew one of the members from Vasudeva and told me to check them out. I would call them an evolved indie band because their music has a backbone similar to indie music, but the production, guitar work, and harmonized melodies are at a level that's much higher than the average indie band. Honestly, my biggest frustration with indie music has always been that most of the music across the genre sounds so similar, and I feel like they often fall into the same sound without much personality. So when I found Vasudeva, I was all for it. And I already know there are going to be people that say, let's be real, most of it does. I've been to enough shows and listened to enough bands over the course of my life to make that claim. Vasudeva went on tour with Covet some years back, so if you like Covet, I'm sure you'll enjoy Vasudeva. Easily one of the best indie bands I've ever heard. My favorite tracks for them are Halftime, Turnstile, and Stop Making Yourself Miserable. That's one from each major project, so if you're into this style, I'd recommend starting with those tracks to get your feet wet. I'm sure you'll find other ones that you may like more, but those are just some of my personal faves. I think they're a great band. I've listened to so much of their music over the course of the past 7 years, and for what it is, it's really good music. It's really good music. Now for someone I really have not talked about much at all. Jakub Zytecki. Jakub was one of my biggest influences as I was molding my guitar playing, and not only am I a fan of his vocals, but I just enjoy his overall productions. The vocals, the synths, the effects, everything meshes well together. Jakub's guitar playing is so purposeful, and it has a cold, icy tone to it, if that makes any sense. A lot of his songs tell a linear story, which I think is what really sets him apart. The way they progress from beginning to end makes it feel as though the song is taking you on a journey. It's a tough concept to describe, but if you listen to Love Tape from his EP Ladderhead, it does exactly what I'm talking about. There are several tracks that convey that same concept, but Love Tape is one I think perfectly outlines what I'm getting at. The past few days, I'm listening to Jakub's new album, Remind Me, and I think it's an awesome project that solidifies his identity as an artist. It's moody and aggressive at the same time, and there are several songs from that project I'll definitely be listening to for a while. I'm gonna put Jakub in great because although he's had several songs that I really enjoy, especially from Ladderhead, that was probably one of my favorite EPs. There's not a lot of them that I think are like crazy. you know, but great guitarist. Next up, we have underground at its finest, and I'm sure some of you know the name, Ando San. The prog hop artist Ando San, he's on his own path. I stumbled across the song Zam from his Vitality EP sometime in 2019 and literally had it on repeat. You know that feeling when a song hits all the right notes for you and you can't help but listen to it one more time? This was one of those songs for me. His melodies are so damn tasty, making use of energetic, happy instrumentals with clean tones and aggressive thumping. You can't help but bounce your head when the beat drops and the thumping comes in. I mean, it is filthy. Ando San is one of those artists that's steadily evolving, and with every project, he's pulling out a new rabbit. His most recent album, Seeing Pastures, is him experimenting with new concepts, and there are several songs that are really pushing the limits of guitar-based music. And as one of the artists attacking guitar music from a nuanced angle, I think Ando will gain more and more popularity, especially as unique fusions like this become more mainstream. Highly recommend checking his stuff out if you're looking for something fresh. It's real music from an incredible guitarist and even better artist. Just because of what he's doing, I mean, it's amazing. Listen to a track. Go listen to a track and come back and let me know. Coming up next, we have Joshua de la Victoria. Josh is pretty much your traditional modern progressive guitarist. He has well-composed phrasings and his vocal work is just as clean as his guitar playing. He plays in a Bossy Concepts guitar, and I swear everyone who plays those guitars has the same tone, same production mix, even the same video lighting. I don't mean that in any bad way, but it's funny because it's kind of true. I really enjoy Josh's music, especially the guitar work in his new band, Portraits. He also has a duo group with Matt Gartzka, the drummer from Animals as Leaders, and there's some good stuff there as well. Portraits released an album not long ago, and it is good. Buy High is the best track on the album, but it's still full of great stuff. There's nothing super unique about the music that Josh makes, but at the same time, there's nothing bad either. If I had to rank it on the list, it's good. There's just not too many things that are different outside of the modern prog sound, but I still enjoy it. This next one is certainly a crowd favorite from what I've seen in the comments. Mansur Brown. About a year and a half ago, I kept seeing references to Mansur Brown in the comments, so I checked out his Instagram, and I have been a fan since. His music possesses a slightly dark presence, but it's done in a way that's so vibey and tasteful. It may not be the most articulate music in terms of riff writing and progressive arrangement, but it is beautiful music to listen to. Mansur Brown makes music that exists for the listener to feel. You'd be doing yourself a disservice if you tried too hard to analyze what's going on. Each of his songs are almost like he's expressing an emotion. I don't know how else to put it. It's super easy to listen to, and it gets the message across in such a delicate way. You really can't go wrong with any of his songs. They just transport you to another world. What's crazy is that the music he makes, it's not technical by any means, but it does a lot. Like, it packs a punch. I've been listening to him a good bit lately, so I gotta put it in amazing. It's really chill music. If you have never listened to Mansur Brown, go into Spotify, just check out the top tracks. I mean, that in itself will tell you everything you need to know. This next band is a new one for me, Catbamboo. Funny story of how I came across Catbamboo. So whenever you purchase gear from Sweetwater, they pair you with a sales rep who will send you emails and sometimes call to see if there's anything you need help with or just see how things are going. While I was editing a video, I had a guy call, and I can't remember exactly how we got to this point, but he was sharing a few bands with me that he had been listening to. One of them being Catbamboo. Catbamboo is a mathcore group with great production, and the way they mix the left and right guitars from some of their older songs is comparable to Chan. Don't hate me for that. They aren't Chan by any means, but that does help to paint a picture of their style. By comparison, Catbamboo is one of the larger bands on this list, but personally, I couldn't find any songs I genuinely liked or would regularly listen to. Out of their entire discography, Swindle was the only song that I could get behind. Their music is solid, but it's just not for me, honestly. Similar to indie music, I feel like a lot of heavy math rock sounds like it could be made by the same artist. I get it's a genre thing, and I'm sure some people would say the same thing about instrumental guitar music, but as a guitarist who knows guitar music, some math rock bands lack character. Honestly, you can hate me for saying that, whatever. For me, it's a C. It's a C. You saw it coming. Next up, we're talking about Ben Rosett. Ben Rosett is making some of the most animated guitar music in the instrumental space. It really reminds me of video game music, which is fitting considering so many of his songs have video game references. The music is upbeat, fast-paced, and lighthearted. I also have to mention how impressive it is that Ben is not only a clean guitarist, but he's also a really good drummer. He plays drums for the band Strawberry Girls, and I'm assuming he does the drums for his solo works as well. I'll have to fact check that. But what Ben makes gives the energy of math rock without the obscure timing and overcomplicated melodies. Some of his productions also have a smooth EDM inspired flair to them. It's a fusion that works really well. He makes good music, and whenever I'm in the mood for it, it is perfect. It gets the job done. Love Spell is one of my favorite tracks from Ben Rosett, and most of his songs have a really nice bright tone. Certainly not music you come across often, and I'd say it's definitely worth a listen. If you've never heard of Ben Rosett, definitely go check out a few songs. Love Spell has to be one of them. Incredible track. It's great for me. I love the style. Love the style. Now, we got Waxamilion. This is also one of the artists I discovered fairly recently, and the music he makes is a little bit of everything. Some of it gives dance music, some lo-fi, some techno. It's really that style of music you can play in the background and have no complaints. The guitar playing is exciting, and the way it's paired with the production makes everything feel tight and cohesive. Even though this style of jazzish guitar isn't something I'm bumping all the time, I can certainly appreciate what he's doing, especially since he's pairing styles that are rarely ever combined. Waxamilion's guitar playing has a very mature sound, and his knowledge of how to pair certain melodies really shines through in the music he makes. Like I said, it's not music that I'm bumping all of the time, but it's good. And I think for me, it's not bad. I wouldn't find myself listening to it very often, but nonetheless, good stuff. I felt like I couldn't talk about underground guitarists without mentioning Buckethead. I also found him through the comments of my videos, and with nothing but guitar heavy tracks, his music is basically 80s shred on steroids. And apparently he played in Guns N' Roses for a few years. He has one of the lengthiest discographies I've ever seen, with dozens of projects dating all the way from 2023 way back to 1994. Pretty wild. I've yet to put a dent in getting around to all of Buckethead's songs, but for an artist to be around for several decades and have projects that don't all sound exactly the same is quite impressive. Don't get me wrong, most of them are similar, but there are several albums that I've listened to that give off completely different feels. His most recent song also is 27 minutes. Is it improv? Don't know much about him. Buckethead is a pretty mysterious persona, so if someone could give me a quick rundown of his backstory just to bring me up to speed, that would be amazing. For me, it's good. Like I said, it reminds me of 80s shred, but his style is definitely modernized over time. Crazy impressive to be in the game that long. This is what we got as the final list for this ranking. In S, we have Sithyu Aye, Ando San, Mansur Brown. Now, the only difference between this S and A tier is just preference in what I've been listening to lately. These 6 artists stay in a rotation. Some of them, it was periodic, listening to them for a few years for a lot, taking a break, coming back. But these are all artists that have stuck with me in terms of my regular rotation for a good minute. In A tier, we got Vasudeva, Jakub Zytecki, Ben Rosett. Now, the way you guys would probably rank these may be different, but like I said, this is just preference. And I think these 3 artists that are in great, S as well, they do things that are a little different. They fall within a genre, but they don't adhere to the same guidelines that all other artists within the genre are. In B tier, we have Joshua De La Victoria and Buckethead. Great artists. Like I said, I just don't feel like there's anything proprietary about the style, but awesome music. And then in not bad, we got Catbamboo and Waxamilion, just strictly due to the fact that it's not music that I'm overly fond of. That's really it. As always, you guys know I love to hear your thoughts. Tell me where you would place everyone. Tell me who some of your favorites are on the list, who you don't like, who you like, agree, disagree. Always want to know. And again, comment below if there's anyone that you think should belong in another list, and we'll make a part 2. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.